Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Welcome. Today we're going to go through dialing in coffee. I'm Mark from Whole Latte Love. Thanks for being with me today. I hope you are all doing really well. We're going to go through the basics of dialing in grind size, talk about what's important. We do have some moderators online, as we've got a lot of people on with us already. Thanks for being with us. We do have some moderators off-site who can answer some of your questions. Later in this, I don't know, I might go half an hour. I'll try and answer some questions live right here as much as I can. Again, usually I have somebody else help me out with this. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's take a look at what we're using. For a machine, I've got a Profitec Pro 500. This is a heat exchange machine, PID. We'll get more into that in a second. I've got a Ceado E6. This has, Ceado hates it when I call it the worm gear, but it's got a worm gear here, makes very precise adjustment, very, very easy. It's an 83 millimeter flat burr grinder. We'll also be using a Baratza Sette 270 WI. This grinder, it weighs automatically for you. So you just put your portafilter in, put in the weight you want, and it does everything else. You just walk away, and it's usually within 1/10 of a gram. It also learns as it grinds, because it actually has to turn off the burrs while it's grinding before it hits the final weight. Then I've got the Ceado E6P. That's for hot lava. I do hope to go through the calibration of that later in the video. The coffee I'll be using. So if you're newer to espresso, I always suggest you start out with something easy and that doesn't cost a lot. One of my favorites, I've been drinking this for an awful long time, Maroma's Orphea. Runs about 10 bucks a pound. It's an Italian-style bean blend. Does fabulous with the crema. Even if you're not quite right on the grind. It's pretty amazing stuff. Another very similar one to that, and a special story here, Lavazza Super Crema. It's incredibly popular with a lot of our customers. One of our best sellers. This runs about $10 a pound too. And just a couple days ago, I saw the story that Lavazza has donated 10 million euros, I think it's $11 million, to the relief in Italy. So thanks a lot for that, Lavazza. I won't be getting into, but I do want to mention a video we did a little while ago. This is from a local roaster, Fuego. This is an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. The two earlier coffees, they're Italian-style bean blends, going to be more chocolatey, generally a darker roast. This Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, this is going to be the fruit and berry, the high altitude, a denser bean. This one depends on, you want it kind of fresh. It keeps pretty well, but you do want it kind of fresh. The other two, the Orphea, those Italian-style bean blends, these you can really keep just in the bag, and they keep really, really well. They don't change a lot. So first thing I want to mention, let's see, the machine. So the Profitec Pro 500 PID. So it is a PID. I've got this set to 249 degrees on the PID down here. I'll get you a closer shot in there so you can see that. And you'll see it'll bounce between 249 and 250. This is a whole lot different than when heat exchange machines were run via a pressure stat in the boiler where the temperature swung a lot. So in this machine, and just like on a lot of rockets, what you're going to do, let me get that portafilter out of the way. This machine and a lot of the rocket machines, what you do is you set the actual in-boiler temperature. Now, I'm in the US, so I'm running Fahrenheit. So to get about just a little over 200 degrees at the group here, we want a temperature of about 249 there. There's a chart for that. So, and that's what rocket does as well. In the old days of the pressure stat machines, these are, you usually had to do a cooling flush. With these machines, you generally don't have to do a cooling flush. I've checked it many, many times with a SCASE device on the Pro 500 here and similar heat exchange machines from Rocket. They've done a really fine job. Let me get you back to me. A really fine job with engineering these so you get a really accurate brew temperature. Now, there is sometimes you might want to flush. And if you like to do a flush, go ahead if you want to clean things off. So first of all, I'm going to pull a bunch of shots. We'll dial in grind. But first, let's talk about consistency. And you notice that my portafilter was in the group that whole time. So you want to for temperature consistency, PID is great, but you also want to keep your portafilter locked into the group. One little tip there. When you keep it locked in, when I keep it in here when not in use, I don't push it in real hard, because that's going to crush your group gasket, wear it out faster. Also, if you really crank it in when you're not using it, you'll go to pull it off, and sometimes you'll end up with your filter basket stuck up around the shower screen. So when mine's in there, it's just, I just lightly leave it in there. That's enough to warm it up. I am using a Barista Pro 18-gram basket here. I'll get you a little closer look at that. I do like this basket a lot. They come up to, we did a video a couple weeks ago using their triple shot. Well, that was an IMS precision basket. This one with the coffee I'm using, you can fill it and just level it, swipe and level, and you'll get pretty much about 18 grams. And that's what we're going to use today, 18 grams. Although I'm going to weigh, you don't have to weigh. You can get really close just by filling and leveling with a finger. I do like the Barista Pro baskets. They don't have any internal ridges or ramps down. That's just kind of what I like. So let's get over to the grinder here. Make sure I do have scales, but I'm going to tell you, you don't have to have scales. They certainly help. I'm going to be doing 18 grams. I'm going to be doing a 1 to 2 brew ratio. So I'm looking at a 36 gram output from my espresso. So now what I've done is I was working with these earlier, and I just I took them off the grind size. I really wanted to use a little bit so we could actually go through dialing in. I'm not sure how far I went. I have no idea what's going to happen. So we'll see. On the Ceado here, let me get you in closer. Again, the E37S with the worm gear. So if you can see up here, I think you can. I've got this set to grind my 18 grams in 3.3 seconds. I don't know if that's right. Another thing to keep in mind when you change grind size, I'm going to tear out my scale here once it comes up. There it is. It's teared. When you change grind size, if you're grinding by time, your weight's going to change when you change the grind size. So you push that in. See, really, really nice fluffy grind coming out of there. Let's see how close we were. I have no idea where this is going to be. And I've got 18.1 grams. So that's pretty darn good. Let me bring it back front here. Another tool I'm using. I'm going to be using the jack leveler. I've been using these for about a year. Now, with this leveler, I found that I do not need to tamp. Now, the old deal was 30 pounds of pressure. I think it's more important that you're consistent with that pressure, and this allows me to do that. This fits real nice with the Barista Pro basket. So I'll take this in. I'll give you a little closer look here again. And so when I'm using this, this is going to compress the coffee and level it off. So I'm just going to, when I'm using this, I want to make sure that this is clean here. It's a really good fit in the basket. And if you got coffee around there, it sometimes gets stuck. So you just spin. So there's no pushing, none of that. Again, if you want to tamp, like for instance, I have this ECM calibrated tamper here, which is going to give you 30 pounds. A lot of people still want to tamp. What I found with this is I really don't need to do the tamping, but just it's going to be nice and level every single time. So, if you're tamping, you may go, this way or this way, and you may end up with a shallower spot in the coffee. But I get nice and level with this. What I've seen in the past is, and I'm going to brew this, I can knock this dry puck right out, and it'll come out in one piece. I don't know how much more you can compress it, and I also tend to prefer a grind that's maybe a little bit finer than a lot, but that's just me. So I'll lock that in. I'm going to get my scale going here. Push the right button. So this is an Akaya lunar scale. I've got it set here, so it's going to give us a time from first drip and the weight as we do it. Now I ground 18 grams. I'm looking for 36 grams out. Again, I have no idea where my grind is because I just kind of threw it off a bunch of turns. So I'll tear my scale, and I'll talk a little bit about timing in a second. But I want you to get a close-up look at this, so I'm going to put this camera up. There we go. And we'll get this shot going and see what happens. So again, we will talk about the timing. Oh, missed a little bit there. Let's get that in the right spot. Okay. Now I'm looking for 36 grams, and look at that. We might be pretty close. I don't know. I'm looking to hit this in the low 20s at my 36 grams. And golly, I guess I didn't turn my grind that much. So I'm a little bit over here at 39 grams, and it was about 20 seconds. Now, I'm doing a shot from first drip. And let me let you get a look at that coffee in that shot. There it is, if I can get it in the right spot. A lot of nice crema on that. I'm going to give this just a little taste here and see what it's like. I do like to stir before I taste. I got to be careful. I've had quite a bit of espresso today, so if I ramble a bit, that's potentially why. That's not bad. That's not bad. So let's see what it's like if it's a little different. So what I'm going to do is go over to the E37 here again, and I'm just going to make this, let's see, one complete turn coarser, and I think, what was that, 21 seconds? About 20. I do like a clean area here, so I'm just going to clean that up. And we'll knock that one out. And I like a clean portafilter as well. So, didn't change my grind time at all. And I'm just going to see what we get here. I made it coarser by about a full turn. So let's see what our weight is. Oh no, you know what? I forgot to tear the scale. So got to do that. We'll dump that one. Oh, and another thing, you know what was good about that actually is when you make a grind size change, you want to remove any coffee that might be remaining in there. Now the E37S is a very low retention grinder, so you're not going to get a lot, but there are some crushed beans between the burrs. You can just remove those. Typically, I just run maybe a second or two on a grinder like this to flush out the old grind. But let me get this back, show you the right camera here. And so my scale, this is a Hario scale, is tiered. So let's see what you got at 3.3 seconds with a little coarser here. It should weigh a little bit more. Last time we had 18. So yeah, I got 19.5 grams with that. I don't know if you can actually see the scale in here, but it says 19.5. So what I can do with that, take it back here, is just swipe a little, oh, dumped a little there, swipe a little off, and see where we are. And I'm at 19, so I can swipe a little bit more. And because I'm going to be leveling, I'm not worried too much about, you know, being perfect in the basket there. And I'm at 17.7, so there we go. Let me just show you that. I'm at 17.7 grams. If I'm within half a gram or so, you know, I'd prefer a little tighter than that, but that's fine. 17.7 is fine. So I'll show you that leveling again. Again, I'm going to check my leveler here, make sure that all the coffee is gone. Now, I'm not going to put it down real hard right away. I'm just going to kind of gently ease it in and give it the spin until it spins freely. And that's all I got to do. No pushing, any of that. Look, if you do want to tamp, that's fine. Lots of people do. There's distribution tools that come with a tamper as well. A lot of people do it that way. This is just what I found works for me, and I can be incredibly consistent that way. So let's go back here. We'll load this up, clean that up a little bit, and see what happens. Now, this shot should come a heck of a lot faster. So let's take a look. Let me tear that. Okay, we're good. Our glass position looks good. Whoops, hit the lever. And we'll see what we got. This should be faster. And yeah, that's quite a bit faster. I'm better than halfway at 7 seconds. I'll cut it there. So I'm a little over the 1 to 2. Again, you can see just the crema on that, but that shot came in about 15 seconds from first strip. I'm going to have a taste of this as well, and I'm going to be really wired by the time we're done here. Yeah, and that does taste kind of like it's under extracted. So we'll spend a little bit more time here with the Ceado, and we'll try and get that dialed back in. Now, because I just turned it to 1 turn, I know that you know, 1 turn back is probably going to get me about to where I need to be. So I'm gonna take it a little bit more. I'll take it like 1.5. So we'll go. There's a half. There's 1, and there's another half. And oh, I went coarser. So we'll go back to where we were, and now I'll go another full turn towards finer. There's 1/2, and there's 1 turn, and then I'll go 1 more half because that's about where we started before. So I'm going to go another half turn here. Again, this is really, really precise here. The worm gear. Let me get you a look at that. Keeps everything locked in place. Another nice thing with the Ceado, and with this one anyways, if you remove the top burr, you don't lose your grind size adjustment at all. The whole top burr comes off. It's nice and sealed in there. So let's get that rolling. Knock this puck out. Gonna like this clean. Now I'm just gonna bump a little bit out of here, just to get rid of the old grind size there. Get rid of that, clean that up again. And to reset my timing here, I'm just gonna do that. And oh, let me tear that portafilter. I keep forgetting that. Good enough. Okay. So this, hoping, is a little under 18 grams. Yeah, 17.5. Let me take you over there so you can see that. So we went a little finer. So you can see when you go a little finer at the same grind time, we're getting a little bit less coffee in there. I'm at 17.6. That's within 0.4. So I'm going to be happy with the 0.4 of a gram off of my 18 target. That's fine. Wipe this off here. Again, the level, I'm just going to give it a little turn like this. Let me get you in closer. I'm just going to run my fingers around here, just make sure there's no coffee in there. And again, just lightly place it in and twist as it goes down. And once that's spinning like that, I'm good to go. Again, have a look at that. It's just going to be perfectly level in there every time. Take one thing that can be inconsistent out of the equation. And with espresso, it's all about consistency. So let's see. So this one, we should be a little finer. So this one should be coming a little bit longer. Remember to tear my scale. Make sure everything's positioned good. And let's see what we get. And I'll bring in here closer for the shot. And we're at 10 seconds. 28. Look at the crema on this one. And I'm going to stop it there. So that was 15 seconds. So my thing here, I usually shoot, because I'm going from first drip, I'm usually going to shoot for the low 20s. So let's talk a little bit about the timing of that. Now, I tend to use first drip. But the reason being is I use a machine like this, which has a vibration pump. I use rotary pump machines, and then in higher end espresso, we get into like really long pre-infusions and stuff. And if I'm not even getting a drip out of the coffee until 15 seconds in to pump on, do I really want the rest of that shot to come in 10 seconds? No, I don't. So I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go a little bit finer, try and get that up to into the low 20s from first drip, perhaps. So get that out of the way. And we'll go over here. I'll get you a little closer again so you can see what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to I'm going to go about half, well, you know what, I'll go about like 3/4 of a turn finer. So clean this out. Boy, this is fun, changing the cameras, pulling shots. A lot going on here. Wow, we got somebody from Germany. Hello, Florian. Jamie is writing everything in a notebook. Jay's asking, what did I miss? Well, Jay, you can watch it after the fact, so there's that. But again, so I'm just going to flush out any of the grind at the old size. I want 3/4 of a turn finer here. So I'm just going to bump that. Bump and dump. Make sure that's nice and clean. Reset, so I'm back at my 3.3 seconds. So I'm a little finer here, so I expect my dose might be a little light, but we'll see. Oh, make sure I tear this out, and oh, it's still teared from last time. Okay. Now again, if you don't have a scale like I do here, you could just fill this 18-gram basket and then just level it with your finger like this, and you're going to get about 18 grams. Now, it'll be a little different depending on what coffee you're using. And I'm a little lighter. I'm at 16.7 grams. So when I grind finer at the same time, I'm not going to get as much coffee. So I'm going to bump this just a little bit. Doesn't take much usually. 17.5. I'm going to try and get it right at the 18. See how we do? Okay, 18.2 grams. But you see in that 18-gram basket with this with the Orphea coffee, if it's just pretty much level. So again, if you don't have the scale, I just knocked the extra 2 grams out. You can just fill and level. Don't push down, just level it off. That may depend a little bit on the type of coffee you're using. And again, my leveler, I'm just going to make a check here. That's all good. Set it in light. and just till it spins. So this shot should come a little longer. So put that in. I do like the clean area, so I'm just going to wipe that. Hopefully not change our thing here. Okay. Get our glass in. Make this so you can see it. So much going on here. I do appreciate you guys all watching and bearing with me as I run this show by myself. And I just want to make sure I'm lined up here so I don't have to move around, so we'll tear that. Okay, let's let this shot go. Again, I'm hoping for low 20s to get my 36 from first drip. And again, if you want to go from pump on, that's fine. Really, time is something to use between you and your machine. It's not going to be real comparable to somebody else's. So tell right away, this is slower. That was 3/4 of a turn on the E37S. And if I'm a guessing man, I think we're going to be pretty darn close to the low 20s when we stop here and see how good I am. So I hit it just a gram over. It was 24 seconds on that one. Let me give you a good look at that. Again, I really like this coffee here. Very, very nice. Lots of crema from that Orphea. It does have a little bit of Robusta in it, like a lot of Italian-style bean blends have. It's a high-quality Robusta, and it really just adds a little dimension to the flavor as far as I'm concerned. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you like a more traditional style espresso, the Italian bean blends are really nice. I'm going to give this one a little taste again. I got to be careful not to drink too much here. Oh yeah, and that's right on. Now, once you have this timing down to get something that you like, or maybe you notice that it's a little under-extracted or over-extracted, then you can adjust the grind a little bit from there. So if, let's say you got it in 22 and it's, I'm not getting everything I should out of that, you could grind a little finer. And that's how you adjust it. And timing is just basic, right? So you want to really taste the coffee and use that and see what, how it tastes different as you change your grind. So that is, and I'm making a big mess here, that's the E37S. Next I want to move over to the 270WI, so the E37S, let's just kind of go over this a little bit. The E37S here, again, it's 83 millimeter flat burrs. This, you'll find this used in coffee shops, and prosumer high-end guys will use this at home. This thing is going to run for decades. You never have to worry about it. Over here, the 270WI, let me get you in a little closer here. You see it goes to sleep, but this has an integrated scale into it. I'm just going to get it turned on here. But one really nice thing, clean up my portafilter here, is that it automatically tears. So I just put my portafilter in, and you can see I've got it set for 18 grams here. And I hit the play button, if you will, and it's going to grind pretty darn close to 18 grams. What happens with the Sette 270WI is as you grind, it has to shut off the burrs prior to the final weight being achieved. So it kind of figures out, it learns each time it grinds when it needs to do that, the timing for that. It's really high tech, pretty interesting. This is a high-end appliance grade grinder, but one thing I really like about this, you never worry about your weight. So I put 18 in, hit play. Oh, and you know what happened? I touched it. It was falling out. So we'll just do that again. You know what? That's okay, because we'll get rid of the old grinds that were in there, because this has been sitting around for a little while. So you can't touch this while it's grinding. You see how it does? In 18.2. Now, as I grind with this some more, it's going to learn that. And usually, if you've got your grind size locked in, you get within 1/10 of a gram every single time. Now, I want you to take a look at this. So I'll get you closer here again. So I don't know if you remember what 18 grams looked like out of the Ceado, but here's 18 grams out of the Sette 270WI. That's a really fluffy 18 grams. Another thing with the Sette, it does grind really fast. I'm in a dry environment here. So if you have a thing where it's creating a lot of static, and I have seen that with this, if during heating season, you can get some static out of this. The real easy way to deal with that, another little tip, it's called the Ross droplet technique. I got a little spray bottle here. You just go in, take cover off, spray the beans. I like to stir them with a finger. If you don't have the spray bottle, that's fine. Just use a wet finger in there, and it generally just takes right care of that static. It won't be an issue. So let's give this a go. So you can see it's a really, really nice fluffy grind. I'm going to just level that down in there a little bit with my finger. Try and be even with that. Again, I have no idea. I kind of offset the grinder a little bit. We could be close, maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out. So again, just keep spinning. I do love this tool. It makes for consistency. And I know, who was it? T. Linney Younger on Home Barista was asking, tips for pulling better espresso, and consistency. I'll consistently repeat. Consistency is the way to get there. But let's see let me put up the other camera here. So I'm going to lock in my portafilter. And let's see, just make sure that scales up. Yep. And you guys got that. We'll tare that. I have no idea what we're going to get here, but we will work with that if we need to. Another thing to keep in mind is grind is never the same, I get asked all the time, so what grind setting should I use on my Sette? And I can't, whoops, I'm missing a little there. And look at it. I mean, this shot might be pretty close. It's going a little faster maybe than I would want it to. So we're at 17 seconds. That's from first drip. This might be okay, but I mean, have a look at that shot. Got a little over on the brew ratio. 3 grams. I'm not going to worry about that. I will taste this one. Let me get back to you guys and pull this off. So what I want for me, I want that shot to come up just a little bit slower. So what I'm going to do is taste this. That's close. But I can go just a little bit slower with that. So over here, let me take it back and show you the Sette here. The 270, and this is a 270 WI. The 270 and the 270 WI do have a micro adjustment. So you got macro adjustments here. I think you can see that. And then there's a micro ring down here. So what I'm going to do is take that. I'm going to go about halfway. I'll go about halfway because it's all the way to coarse on the micro ring. So this is a finer adjustment than what you get from the macro ring. I was pretty close. I just want the shot to go just a little bit longer. Let me bring you back here. And we'll knock this puck out. Puck looks really nice, no channeling at all. Another thing you want to look at when you're making an espresso is to make sure you're not getting an impression of your shower screen on the top. If you are, you have your basket's either too small or you're using too much coffee. So no shower screen impression here, but let me knock that out. Clean that out. One more time, I'm gonna just bump this to get the old grind and stuff out of there. Let it run. And I'm just gonna stop that. So we'll just dump that grind, a couple grams, sacrifice for a better espresso. So we made it just a little bit finer on the micro side. We'll see if, number one, how it does as far as the hitting our 18 grams. And number two, if it slows down my shot a little bit. And there we go. We're at 18.1 grams. This thing is just amazing. I really do like that. Make sure I'm on the right shot here. Again, it's a really fluffy grind. As you can see, it's very nicely distributed. The E37S does a great job at that as well. So I'm just going to lower this in and spin gently. And I really do like the leveler for consistency. Again, nice, beautiful puck. So we'll lock that in. I'm going to run out of glasses here. I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see that. We'll wipe that scale off a bit. And again, we should be a little bit longer on the shot with the finer grind. So I'll tare that. Let's see what happens. It's looking a little slower. It looks, oh my gosh, it looks, this might have nailed it. So it's just that little grind size change there. Might be a hair too, well, no, we're looking pretty good. I like this coffee in the low 20s. We might be mid 20s here. And let's see if I can get that. So I'm just a gram over, and it was about 26 seconds. So that's right about where I like this coffee. We'll taste this one. And oh my gosh, the crema on this stuff is just incredible. Oh yeah. Now what happened for me there is it got just a little bit sweeter, but was not over extracted. And you know, from pump on this machine with a vibration pump, I was probably in the low 30s probably, but that's perfect. That to me is a really good shot of Orphea, and I've had a lot of this. That's where I like it. So that's the Sette. And you can see just a little change in the grind size there made a difference of about, I think it was 5-ish seconds, maybe a little more. I should be writing this down, but I can only do so much at one time. But that was a really, really nice shot. Again, I've had a lot of that coffee. But it's that consistency, and a grinder like the Sette really makes that easy to get that same weight every time. So again, I'll just go through the consistency. I like the leveler for consistency. If you still want to tamp after leveling, you can do that, but the jack really takes care of that for you if you need it. Lots of people do tamp, and fine. Do what you want to do. Do what works for you. Just do it the same. What else? So the dose, the leveling, it's really keeping me consistent. You know, if you want good shot, also pick a coffee you like. So I like the Orphea here for an Italian-style bean blend. I like something like the Yirgacheffe for, you know, this is a much higher-end coffee, a lot more expensive, but really, really good. This is one that's got all that fruity flavors. If you're interested, do check out. We did a few weeks back. We did some flow control with the Yirgacheffe. It was very fresh. I think I mentioned this earlier, where we did a really long, low-flow pre-infusion where we weren't having any drips at all for about 15 seconds. We did those naked triples. And when we did a shot normally with a really fresh coffee, it tends to be really, really bright, acidic. It has a little bit of a bite. But then as he did that pre-infusion, what it does is allows the CO2s that are still trapped up in the coffee, haven't really off-gassed yet, to come out and not end up in your cup. So you got a much more balanced, a rounder shot without all that brightness, and really lets the berry, the fruit, those kind of the sweetness of the coffee come through. So that's that. Boy, I got a mess going here. So that's kind of that. Again, little changes in grind, and it's going to change, especially if you were using a coffee like this. That's going to change as it ages quite a bit. You know, it's not going to be the same grind, 3 days from now as it is today. If it was, just maybe a week from roast, it's always changing. Coffees, like these Italian-style bean blends, they hold up. It's not going to change a lot. You'll see a little over longer periods, but not a lot. And again, these Italian bean blends don't depend on freshness. Just store them in the bag. I know some people freeze their coffee and stuff, and if you're really working with something like a high-end Yirgacheffe coffee, you might want to freeze it and go with that. I know AJ, who I work with, he's got a machine at home right now because a lot of us working from home. We've been running a long-term thing where we're doing a shot every day to see how the grind changes over time, what you need to do. So that's dialing in. I'm going to hopefully our moderators are helping you out a little bit, and I'll take a look in a minute. But I did want to, Hot Lava asked about the E6 grinder, calibrating that after you change out burrs or clean things out. So let me move some stuff around over here so we can get a look at that. Here we go. Okay, that's up. I'll push these grinders back a little bit, make some room. So it's a Ceado E6 grinder. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm missing a part or two here, just some screws here that keep it in position. So to open up a grinder like the Ceado, you're just going to turn it coarse. Keep turning, 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 turning. So this is a there's a threaded collar in here that holds the burr in place and adjusts the grind size. A little different than like on the E37S, where the adjustment is built into the collar and very protected from the coffee. So take the burr right out. So there's your grinding burr. Also a couple parts in here. There's a little ring like this that kind of keeps the coffee from getting up into these threads here, and this little spring, I don't know what you call it, but that goes on top. So we'll take that out. So when you're working with a grinder like this, this one's pretty clean. What I like to do, you want it when you're putting it back together. So first you go in and you do your cleaning. Something like a group brush like this works really, really well. The key thing is to make sure that all these surfaces are free of any coffee residue. And really key are the threads here, because when you go to put this back together, these are really fine threads. And if there's coffee gunked up in there, it's going to be really hard to get on. Something I kind of have a pet peeve with Mazzer grinders, because they don't isolate those threads so much from the grinding chamber here. And so they're a lot harder to clean out. So just make sure that everything is really, really as clean as you can get. I mean, I've even had to in the past, like with a Mazzer or some other grinders, use like a pin to clean out those threads. So when you go to put this back together, just going to drop in our 2 rings here. Hopefully you can see all this. Yep. This ring goes first. Of course, be very careful. I've done this many, many times. I would, recommend unplugging the grinder while you're doing this part. This has a little key on the top burr here. Again, if you want, definitely this one's pretty clean. If you use those oily coffees, darker roasts, they tend to get gunked up a little bit more. So we'll put that back in. Make sure it's sitting in there right. Now, what you don't want to do, also check these threads here, depending on your grinder type. Make sure they're really, really clean. So when you put this back in, you don't want to just start cranking it down. What you want to do first, I'm going to have to be quiet here for a second. You want to turn it to the coarse side, and we're going to listen for the burr, or for the threads to drop, which will help prevent cross threading. So just turning to the coarse side. And there, the burr dropped. And then start turning to the fine side. And if you've got things really clean, that should turn on nice and smooth and easy. You don't ever want to crank it to the fine, because if your threads aren't lined up, you can cross-thread it, and believe me, you don't want to cross-thread stuff in here. So to get to 0, to get to your finest grinding size, I'm just going to turn this a little bit. Manual grinding on this, you just press and hold both buttons. So if you can hear that, it's running. I'm just going to keep turning fine until I hear the burrs just touch. And you don't have to worry, you're not going to hurt the burrs by doing this. They are higher on the edges away from the cutting parts of the burr. And there's that sound. You hear that? So I just back off a little bit from that, and that's my 0 point. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful, and maybe there's a way I'm not aware of doing it, if you could get so 0 actually lined up with 0. Now, if you're really far off and you want to get close, I do know how to do that. So let me just take off these 2 screws on the E6. But you'll see once you get this off that you can only turn this in 90-degree turns. So you have to kind of make a choice. So over here, so there's 4 screw holes here. That's where these screws go in. So you can make a choice about where they go, and you got to kind of look down and find them. And you can usually get, fairly close, but there's only 90 degrees to work with here. So that's as close as I can get. What a lot of people will do, what I've done in the past, is you just make a little mark. If that's your 0 point, a piece of tape, a wax pencil, something like that, you can do that. And I'll get this other screw back in. And I think what we'll do is we'll pull one more shot. So right now I'm at the 0 grind setting again. Let's hear that again. We'll go just a little. So that's calibrated 0. Again, I'm not quite at 0 here, but that's fine. Maybe make a mark. So I'm going to try and pull one more shot with this. I'm nowhere close to dialed in at all. So this, some of you might have to go through this, right? So we'll get some coffee in here. Open that up. I've got some more Orpea over here. And I'm going to make a bit of a guess as to where I need to be. There's that coffee in there. I'll make a bit of a guess and say maybe there. I have no idea if we're even close, but we're going to find out, and we'll go through dialing in on this one. Make sure you guys, I think I'm blocking a little bit here. I'll pull this over this way so you can get a good view. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this manual, and I can tell right away I'm far too fine. So I'm going to turn this coarser until I get a grind that looks about right. So let me just take a look at that. That to me looks now a little coarse. So I'm going to go a little finer. And you just got to get a feel for this, right? So let me pull you in a little tighter here. I'm sorry. A lot to take care of. So a little tighter here. That still looks really coarse to me. I think I might have turned it coarser yet. So we'll try that. Oh, another thing. Usually when you adjust finer, it helps if the grinder's running. You can make small adjustments. If you adjust too far, you might go to start the grinder and the motor doesn't turn, but you hear the hum. You want to stop it right away. You don't want to burn out a motor. Always okay to go coarser, but there's coffee in between the burrs right now. So going finer can be an issue. Still looks a little coarse to me. We'll go a little finer. Let's see. I think we're close. I'm going to go just a little bit finer. And then we'll try one. So I'm just going to dump off any remaining coffee that was in there. And so I'm going to do this, kind of like I described. I'm not going to weigh this dose at all. I'm just going to eye it. So I'm just going to press both to do manual. Now I'm just going to fill. And then from here, I'm just going to give it a little shake to sort of pre-level it. And then I'm going to, sorry, I'm out of camera shot here. I'll bring this around this way. Yep, we're good. So I'm just going to swipe off this excess here without pushing it down. And that should give me about 18 grams there. So I'll get my leveler, make sure that's clean. Just set it onto the coffee. And we'll see what happens here. And this is kind of that dialing in process. Let me get my scale back on. And I am running out of cups. I know this one, I love this little cup. Right to the brim is about 2 ounces or 60 milliliters. So we'll tare that. And that stopped. There we go. Let me get you in closer here. And see what we got. I have no idea where we're going to be. We could be way off. No, actually, not too, it's coming really fast. Really, really fast. So we need to go a lot finer here. So I'm going to dump this. So we need to be a lot finer. I thought we were a little fine. I'm going to have to reuse a glass here. So let me bring it back for a second. There we go. We'll swipe that out, get rid of this one. Again, I like to be clean here, so we'll get rid of that. We'll have this on standby. So we're going to need to go a little bit finer. Well, actually quite a bit finer, so I'm just going to turn that fine now. If I went too far, I want to stop this grinder right away. So we'll see what happens. Again, it's, no grinder manufacturer is going to tell you to go finer on the grind without the grinder running, because they don't want you to burn out motors. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to go just a little bit finer with that and get rid of any excess here. It's nice and clean. Again, I'm just eyeing this. I'm just going to fill the filter basket here and see what happens. Oh, let me get you in a little closer there so you see what's going on. I'm just going to fill this, slightly overfill. Yeah, a little bit more. I might be too fine now. We'll find out. But this is the dialing in process. Again, I got my jack leveler here. Lay it and spin. And I really do like the way that works there. It's just a beautiful puck. And I've got our pre-used glass. Tare our scale, make sure our cup's in the right spot, and here we go. Let me get you in closer on that shot, see what's happening. And I might have gone too fine. And this is the process. So now we go a little bit coarser. I'm so fine, you know, it's dripping so slow that my scale didn't even start there. Looks pretty beautiful, but that's way too fine. So this is what the process you have to go through. So we'll stop that one. Far too fine. Bring it back out here. So we'll make this a little, go about there. We'll try, I'm right just a notch past 1 on that. Clean up my glass. Wish I had just a, like, you know, bunch of portafilters that I could have all set ready to go, but you know, I wouldn't be able to keep them warm, would I? So we'll see, clean that out, knock this out. Again, when you change the grind size, you want to bump and dump. I'm just getting any of the old grind size out of there. And again, I'll put you in closer so you can see what's going on. I kind of knew that I was a little fine actually because I saw the grind coming out and saw some minor clumping with it. This looks closer. Again, I'm just going until it's a little overfilled. Just a hair more. And just swipe that off. That's a little light, so we'll give it just a little more. Okay. Another thing about using a distribution or leveling tool, you know, if you're not filling perfectly, you know, not distributing your coffee into the portafilter on grinding, this is really going to help make up for that. Sorry about the messes here. I really do like to be clean. So we'll see how that looks. Really nice. We'll put that in and see where we're at. One more cup. And we'll tare that. Okay, and let's see what we got. It's probably still a little fine. My scale didn't even start there, or my time didn't even start there. I can tell it's too slow. Looks absolutely marvelous, though. But you can see it's running a little slow. Maybe more than a little. I'm going to let this just finish, see if I can't nail the 36 here. Boom. Yeah, 37, not bad. Too bad the timer didn't run on that. I'm not quite sure why. So I'm going to make this just a little bit coarser because I think that was far too long. We'll dump out that coffee. I'll bring it back to me. Gosh, there's a lot going on here. Clean that up. So I made my grind a little bit coarser, and this is a dialing in process, right? Just making little adjustments and grind. So again, I'm going to bump and dump. Couple grams sacrifice to the gods there. A little bit more. Okay, just a little bumps there. And let me bring you around here so you can see what's going on. Sorry about that. Really hard to do all this and keep switching the cameras on my own. I'm doing my best. Until that's got a little grease around it. Okay. There we go. Swipe those off a little bit. Lock her in. I just clean my glass. The hair here. I do like this clean. Like that. Tear that out. Let me get the cup around the right way here so you can see what's going on. Good and teared. So hopefully we should be a little quicker, closer. Let me bring it in closer so you can see that. It's a little more reasonable. Again, I don't know why the scale isn't starting. It does seem a little fast. It's getting kind of blonde, kind of quick there. And I'm letting it go too long. But still, you see just how forgiving this coffee is. I don't know what the time was on that, but it did look a little fast. So I'll do one. We'll do one more here, and I'm going to make my grind a little bit finer. We'll try there. And I'll bring it back around front. Dump that. Wipe, get rid of this. Dump that. And I'm going to need a little more coffee too. I think there's enough in there. So I'll just dump out a little bit there. We should have plenty. I'm just going to overfill slightly and swipe off the excess, and that should give me about the 18 grams. Get you in a little closer here. Gotta make sure my leveler is clean around the edges. Get rid of the screwdriver, huh? Okay, it's looking good. You know, I'm just going to I'm going to reset this here. Now I'm on auto tare. Let's see if the time doesn't do better for us this time. So if I just wait, the scale tears itself. Okay. Bring in a little. Oh, you're already in close. Let's see what we get on this one. I'm hopeful. So again, we're a little fast, so I'm going to go one more step finer and hope I got enough coffee in here. So we'll dump that. And this is the dialing in process. You know, if you were to be taking your grinder apart and had to get back to where you were, this is, you know, the process you go through. You pull a few shots until it's right. Clean that out. Okay, we'll bump and dump. Go. That looks pretty good. Might be a little bit under. We'll go with it. Yeah, let me bring it. Sorry about that. Let me bring in closer here. And closer still. So the scale did its auto tare thing, and we'll pull this shot. Now we're talking, I think. This one's going to be real close. Yeah, we'll stop it there. So, you know, a couple, 2-3 grams over, and we were about 22 seconds on that shot. Bring it back forward. We'll take a taste of this one. Let's see how it did. If I was going to do this again, I might adjust just a hair finer. But that's really close. Yeah, I think just a hair finer, I might get a little more out of this coffee that I'm used to. So that's the dialing in process. Again, consistency. If you have a scale, use it. Obviously, if you don't, you know, just be consistent. Fill the basket the same way every time. Know things that, like, if you're using timed grinding and you change your grind size, of course, you will be grinding more or less coffee based on that change. Let me take a quick look. Hopefully the moderators are, I haven't even looked over here. We got quite a bit of action in the comments here, so I'm just going to go through and see if there's anything. Luna Pearl can be unwieldy for weighing shots. Yeah, I've run into that once or twice. Jamie's thirsty. Brian, Tom mentioned there should not be any shower screen impressions on the puck. I'm using a Barista Pro 18-gram basket, and when filled to 18 grams, I have the shower screen imprinted. Well, I mean, I was just pulling lots of them, and I'm not getting any imprint at all with 18 grams. It could be, you know, different coffees have different densities. For instance, you know, like a coffee like this high altitude coffee, it grows slower. The bean is denser usually, so there'll be less coffee in the basket. If you are getting impressions, you know, you might want to move up to, say, a 20-gram basket. It may just be a function of, you know, your shower screen. Some are different. I don't know what kind of machine you're using, so that can happen. Let's see what else. Should I go down? Yeah, Brian, you asked, should I go down to 17? Sure. I will say, you know, there was an SCA survey done a while back, and the average barista is doing 19-gram shots. I usually, for this, I'm using that 18-gram basket. A lot of times, my favorite's really like a 20. If I'm doing, you know, like a high-end coffee, I want to do, you know, like really cool triple shots. I might even use, you know, the 22. But, you know, find what works with your coffee. Let's see what we got here. Somebody asked, you guys make how many shots a day? Well, I don't know. I just, I do quite a few. I don't know if that question is for me. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Han usually does 9 shots a day. Okay, I'm right behind you, Han. Let's see what else we got. Some of the recent stuff. Is the E37S or the E37SD? This is Brian, i.e., the more popular seller. It's probably the E37S, which is right over here. The SD is a single dosing grinder. Nice thing about the SD, I don't have one here, but on here you have the adjustment of the worm gear. Let me bring this over to the other camera. Again, please excuse my mess. So you have the worm gear adjustment here. On the E37 SD, you can undo a thing here and swing it out of the way. So if you need to make really big grind changes, it's much easier. Because if you wanted to go, say, I know some people are using these multi-purpose. If you wanted to go from you know, espresso grinding up to drip grinding or something, you'd be doing a lot of turning to get there. With a single dosing SD, it's got the popper on the top for blowing out any grounds, and believe me, that's like a real dang near zero retention grinder. That's a thing. Okay, so let's see, what time are we at? Oh my gosh, I'm almost up for my hour. I do appreciate you guys. I'll bring me back here, sorry about that. I do appreciate all the questions. If you're not watching this live, because it will be available afterwards, I do monitor those comments. I really like helping people out. If you have any thoughts on what you'd like to see, I'd love to hear about it. Coming up Friday at 1, again, I mentioned this at the start, we're going to have a Pro 700, a ProfTech Pro 700 that has flow control on the E61 group. You'll be able to learn how to calibrate that, know what your flow rates are at certain valve positions. I'll touch briefly on some different profiles. There's one I especially like working with the Orphea, and one especially that I like working with this Yirgacheffe coffee that are very, very different. Actually, you can kind of simulate a lever shot with the flow control, or you can you can do those super long low flow pre-infusions that can really help out, like a high-end Yirgacheffe coffee that's really fresh. Yeah, with the Orphea, using the Orphea with the flow control, I found that simulating kind of like a lever shot was good. If you have, and there's other methods you can use with that. I've got 5 different ones that we'll talk about. I do have a video about that if you're interested. That's up already. That's really cool. Let's see, we got 1 more minute. Brian says, thanks, Mark. I'll scale down and see if that helps. I did buy a new gasket from you guys and a 22-gram Barista Pro basket, as you so might mess around. Cool. So we're going to wrap it up. You know, come back if you got some extra time. I had a lot of fun doing this. There's a lot going on here with switching around the cameras and stuff, but I really do enjoy it. I enjoy talking to folks in the video comments. Again, thanks to Dan at Home Barista, and I did get a couple questions from a thread on Home Barista specifically with regards to this video. That was from Hot Lava and T. Linny Younger. Thanks for your questions. If you have them, again, Friday coming up at 1 o'clock, we're going to do flow control. Got any questions about that, anything you want to see, or thoughts on other things you'd like to see, you know, let me know, and I'd love to help you out. For now, I'm Mark at Whole Latte Love. Thanks so much for watching, and I do hope to see you back here soon for what I always say, more of the best on everything coffee. Bye, guys.